Hey, what's up? My name's Alea. Welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be doing a bookshelf tour. So as some of you may know, I moved recently. We've only been living in this apartment for a few weeks, but I wanted to show you my new bookcase because during the moving process I got rid of my old cinder block bookshelf and I got a 7-foot tall bookshelf that's really awesome, and I've been organizing it a different way, so I wanted to show you guys that along with my Tbr cart and like the nightstand where I keep my books. So first we're going to go into the living room and I'm going to show you the big bookshelf. So this is the big 7-foot tall bookshelf. And so I kind of tried to organize it by genre this time instead of by rainbow like my old shelf. So up here in the corner is like the paranormal books. And then this is kind of contemporary stuff, mostly YA, and then a lot of adult stuff that's also kind of contemporary with like magical elements, and then nonfiction. And these are just notebooks and cookbooks. And these are also like cookbook recipes and stuff. And then down here I have poetry. And this is where the horror section starts. And I also tried to group things that were similar together. So sometimes some of the shelves have like subgenres. So these are kind of like nature horror, and then kind of like more gothic horror and mysteries. And then I have my YA mystery thrillers and other mystery books. And then at the end I have more like adult thrillers and noir thrillers and stuff like that. And then down here I have my little romance section that I'm really excited about, and this is my jewelry box, and then I have graphic novels. So I wanted to put all my adult graphic novels together, and then these are more like middle grade ones. And then down here in the bottom corner is all of my middle grade books. And then down here, the bottom two shelves are mostly fantasy, and so I tried to group like ones together, like I said. So I have like the series together and stuff, and ones that are by the same author. So these are like the Margaret Rogerson and Laini Taylor, and then these ones are like historical kind of fantasy, and then TJ Klune stuff, and then these are all desert fantasy. And then the ones in the corner are more like the adult epic high fantasy stuff, and then the bottom is mostly YA fantasy, and then over here is the sci-fi corner. So I have some of the J. Kristoff trilogies and stuff like that, and then the bottom corner over here is historical fiction. So that's kind of like the overview of the big shelf. But anyways, I'm really excited about this. I know it's not as like aesthetic as the rainbow shelves, but I think it's still really fun. So starting over here, I have Empire of the Vampire, Coldest Girl in Cold Town, Dread Nation, which I still need to read. This zombie one that I think looks really good, it's called Warm Bodies. It's an older YA zombie story that I've been wanting to get to. The Taking of Jake Livingston, which I heard mixed things about, but I'm still excited for. And Summer Suns, which I adore. And then this section right here is kind of like ghosts and then witches. So here we have The Second Death of Eddie and Violet Bond, which is an arc that I need to get to. And we have Julia Vanishing, The Bone Witch, and Not Good for Maidens, which are all like spooky witchy stories. And then this one is like a cryptid story. It's called the Kaiju Preservation Society, and I've heard really good reviews for this and I'm excited about that. And then these ones are all kind of like magical, but they're not like overt enough to be fantasy. So we have The Apocalypse of Elena Mendoza, The Extraordinaries by TJ Klune, Death Prefers Blondes. This is another arc called Aces of Wild, which is supposed to be a full cast of all asexual characters, which sounds really cool. And then Poet X, which I'm embarrassed I haven't read yet, and Bitter by Akeke Emezi, which I'm really excited for. This is the prequel to Pet. And then The How and the Why by Cynthia Hand, which I've never heard anything about, but I think it's about like teen pregnancy and adoption. Sounds cool. And then The Lesbiana's Guide to Catholic School, which I still need to read. The Book of Longing by Sumont Kidd, which I think is kind of a divisive one, but I'm excited about it. And then American Hippo by Sarah Gailey. This has such an interesting premise. It's about like cowboys in an alternate version of America where we used hippos for meat instead of cows. Weird, but I'm excited. And then Outlawed by Hannah North. and When We Were Dragons, which is a new one I just got recently that I'm excited for. I think this is more like adult magical realism. Like there's dragons, but it's not full-on fantasy. And then Dinosaurs by Lydia Millett, which is another arc, and Lark Ascending, and Minor Feelings by Kathy Park Hong, which I love and am obsessed with, and In the Dream House by Carmen Maria Machado. I don't have a lot of nonfiction, but the nonfiction I have is poppin'. And then this is a super secret arc of Lady Fortune by Chloe Gong that may or may not come up later in a video. These are some of my old notebooks from college that I was writing like fantasy short stories in and stuff. This is one of my favorite books. Actually, my dad bought me this. It's called Medicinal Tea, and this thing has the cure for UTIs and many other good herbal tea recipes. This is a Moon Cycle cookbook, which I think I talked about in another video. It's a really healthy cookbook and it looks really cool. And this is the Everyday Smitten Kitchen cookbook, which I just used to make very fancy pancakes the other day. And then I have like a bunch of different cookie cookbooks, like this one, which is super old school but really cool. And then down here I have poetry, and I have some little like bookmarks. Over here I have these really cute little like Bob Ross bookmarks. They're really fun. And then I have some poetry collections. I have some Sylvia Plath, I have some Courtney Peppernell. You guys know I'm obsessed with Mike McGriff stuff recently. And then I have this one, Evergreen, which is sort of like nonfiction stories and poetry combined. It's about the Pacific Northwest. And then some nature horror, so What We Harvest. And then Rory Powers books, which you guys know that I'm obsessed with. And then House of Hollow, which I'm still really excited to get to. And The Sacrifice, which is an arc that I got of Rin Chipeko's new book. And this one looks super spooky. It's like a nature horror set on an island. And Starland by River Solomon. This one I don't know anything about, to be honest. It's called No Beauties or Monsters, and I know it's YA horror set in a desert. Other than that, no idea, but excited for it. The Weight of Blood by Tiffany D. Jackson, Malice House by Megan Shepherd, What Moves the Dead, which I just read and loved, Plain Bad Heroines by Emily N. Danforth, which I've heard mixed things about, but I'm still excited about it. And This Is Not a Ghost Story, which I've never heard anybody talk about, but the cover is stunning. And I'm not sure if it's really a ghost story or not, to be honest. And The House on Vesper Sands, read this, loved this last summer. The Maker of Swans by the same author. This one just came back into print. It was out of print for like quite a few years, I think. And his new book did so well that they reprinted his old one, and I cannot wait to read this. Never Old Wake by Marisha Pessel. The Companion, Truly Devious, Reverie, Bluebird by Attica Locke, which is a adult mystery set in the South, and I think it follows like an African-American detective, and he's trying to solve this racially charged murder case in the South, which sounds interesting. The Widows of Malabar Hill, which is another murder mystery. Silence of Bones by June Hur, another murder mystery. I think this is set in Paris. And Capturing the Devil by Carrie Maniscalco. The Name of the Star, which is another like Stalking Jack the Ripper-esque murder mystery. And The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. In the Garden of Spite, which is about an American female serial killer, which sounds really cool. Yeah, The Black Widow of La Puerte. And To the Lions by Holly Watt, which I also haven't heard anything about, but this is a adult thriller. And I think part of it is set in London and part of it is set in Africa. Anyways, it's about this lady who's a reporter, and it sounds interesting. It will end like this, which is a YA like horror thriller, I think. And I think it's supposed to be, this is supposed to be a retelling of Lizzie Borden, the story of Lizzie Borden, which sounds cool. And The Lady Upstairs, which is a noir thriller that I adore. Cannot wait for that author's new book. The History of Wild Places, A Good Girl's Guide to Murder, and The Turn of the Key. And then down here I have my like little Lisa Kleypas collection that is slowly growing. And I'm really excited about it. This is Diana Palmer that my best friend from high school gave me a long time ago. And then I have Rain Shadow Road, Dream Lake, this one, Secrets of a Summer Night, which is the sequel to Again the Magic, and I cannot wait for it. So excited. And then this is a Eloisa James, and I've never read her before, but I found this at a used bookstore and I thought it was really, really cool. I think you guys are going to see that clip in an upcoming reading vlog as well. And then this one, Devil in Disguise, which I think has like a Scottish love interest, which sounds really cool. And then The Love Hypothesis, Delilah Green Doesn't Care, Fake It Till You Bake It, which is a new rom-com that just came out about a football player who owns a bakery, and it looks adorable. And then Angelica Frankenstein Makes Her Match, which is the new Sally Thorne that's coming out this fall, and I found an ARC at work, and I need to read that. And this is A Merry Little Meet Cute, which my coworker read and really liked, and so I need to read this one too. And then Henry Hamlet's Heart. So this one is a queer romance that's getting reprinted really soon, and it has really good reviews on Goodreads. And then I have an ARC of Crumbs, which is a witchy, like, YA romance graphic novel. And then I have all of my Image comics, and so a lot of these are by Scotty Young, because you guys know that I love Scotty Young. So I have Middle West, and I Hate Fairyland Volume 3, Motor Crush, Rat Queens, Another Rat Queens, and Saga Volume 1. And then I have a couple middle grade graphic novels. So I got this one, Barb the Berserker, recently, which looks really, really cool. It reminds me of I Hate Fairyland, but for kids, and I'm obsessed. And then the Tea Dragon Society, which I had to buy because everybody says it's so good, and I just have FOMO. And then Be Prepared, which is a middle grade graphic novel about this girl who's Russian, and she kind of has a hard time fitting in with like her American friends, and so she goes to this summer camp for other Russian kids, and it sounds really, really cute. And then Beetle and the Hollow Bones, which is like a witchy kind of Halloween graphic novel. And the Sand Warriors. This is the first in the series. And Amulet, which I've been dying to read. And Amari and the Night Brothers, which I am obsessed with. And the sequel comes out later this month, and I'm so excited. It comes out on my birthday, and I'm dying over it. And then The Outlaws, Scarlet and Brown by Jonathan Stroud, who also wrote the Lockwood & Co. series. This is the first one in his new middle grade series, and I need to read that because the sequel's coming out soon. And Ivy Aberdeen's Letter to the World, A Reverse Story by Jasmine Warga, The Ghosts of Rose Hill. So this little section right here in the middle grade area is all of my books that are middle grade, but they're written in verse. So these two are written in verse, and then also In the Beautiful Country, which I read for Summerween and adored. So we got Orphe's Ghost, The Thieving Collectors of Children's Books, The Only Black Girl in Town by Brandy Colbert, which is one of my favorite middle grades of all time ever. And then Magic by Septimus Heap. This is the book that got me into reading. I'm just gonna say it. I was obsessed with this as like a 10-year-old, and I've been reading ever since. And then How to Train Your Dragon, The Janitors Beyonders by Brandon Mull. Mine, which is a middle grade horror. Wilder Lore, A Snake Falls to Earth. And then this was one of my favorite middle grade series as a kid. It's by Rick Riordan, who wrote Percy Jackson. But it's a different series that's set in Egypt. And the first one is The Red Pyramid, and it is so good. Obsessed. So then all these bottom ones that are all fantasy, there's not like a super good system for them. I just tried to like put the ones by the same authors together and the series together for the most part. But these are all YA. Strange the Dreamer, which I recently recommended in an audiobook video, is one of my favorites of all time. And Sorcery of Thorns is another one of my absolute favorites. And I have Vespertine too by Margaret Rogerson, which I still need to get to. And I read An Enchantment of Ravens and I really enjoyed it. This one, Poison by Bridget Zen, is also really, really good. And this is the only book that this author ever wrote, and then she passed away from cancer a few years ago. So that one's really special. And then Roar by Kara Cormack. This is another one where the author started the series, and then I remember she got really sick, and I think that the sequel to this one came out like quite a few years after this, once she had like recovered from her illness. And then I have In a Garden Burning Gold by Rory Power. So this is Rory Power's new like foray into fantasy, and I'm really excited because this one's adult, and her other stuff that's up there is all like YA horror. So I think this is going to be a really different vibe, but it kind of is giving me like Strange the Dreamer vibes with the synopsis. So I kind of put them together, and I realized when I was shelving all of these that a lot of the ones that are like similar in genre have similar covers. So also like with this one, The Last Magician and The Demon King, like tell me these covers are not so similar. And they're both about like people with magic powers, and stuff like that. And I just thought that was so interesting. As I was doing this, I was kind of like grouping them in a way that just happened to work out well. And then the same with A Marvelous Light and My Lady Jane. They're both like historical fantasies. And I think that's so funny. They just have really similar color schemes and stuff. And then they have the people on the front too. And then obviously TJ Klune's stuff looks similar because it's by the same author with the little houses and stuff. But I also have Legends and Lattes, and I cannot wait to read this. It also has these really cute, like, let's see if I can find one. These really cute little like illustrations at the beginning of the chapters. I thought there was one. Oh yeah, this one's like booze, and there's another one that's like a cinnamon roll, and I just love that design. I think it's so fun. And then these ones that are all like the desert fantasy ones, they also have similar covers. Like, tell me that those are not so similar. And then there's another one too. We Hunt the Flame kind of has like a similar vibe going on with the gold too. Oh, you know what this one looks like? This one looks like The Unbroken. And then The Unbroken and the Jasmine Throne are really similar too. So isn't that so funny how they all have like similar vibes to each other? Anyways, just something I noticed when I was setting up this whole thing in the first place. I'm trying to put these back so I don't leave like a giant mess for future me, because she doesn't deserve that. And then down here at the end I have the 5th season and Blood of an Exile. This is a really, really good adult fantasy with dragons and a very hot man. And I think it was originally indie published, and then it got picked up by Tor a few years ago. And then I have Vicious by V.E. Schwab, which is also really good. And then I have House of Earth and Blood and House of Sky and Breath. I've heard this has the worst cliffhanger, so I'm honestly like kind of waiting to read it until closer to the release date for book 3, which I don't even know when that's going to be. And then I have the Rune of Kings. So over here is kind of like dragons. And then I also have the Rage of Dragons, which I've heard some good things about and some not so good things about. So I'm a little hesitant on that, to be honest. And then down here on the bottom is mostly YA fantasy that I've had for a really long time. So in this corner we have City of Lost Souls by Cassandra Clare, the old school covers. And then Invisible Life of Addie LaRue, 6 of Crows, A Court of Thorns and Roses. And then also some other like backlist ones that I am still like wanting to get to. So I have Beyond Darkened Shore. Scooch this way so you guys can see a little bit better. And then The Dark Days Club. So this one reminds me of the Shadowhunters a lot, and I think it's set in like kind of a historical setting too, and it's about this lady who's just living her life, and she's like an aristocrat, and then she finds out that there's demons and she has to learn how to fight them. And it sounds really fun. You know, I've had this for a long time because I bought this from Hastings, and Hastings isn't even in business anymore. Good lord. And then I have A Curse So Dark and Lonely, Rogue Princess, which is, I think, kind of like a sci-fi fantasy about this princess, but it's set in like a sci-fi world. And this cover is so stunning that I just had to buy it at Barnes & Noble. It's so pretty. And then I got a used copy of The Knife of Never Letting Go by Patrick Ness, because I've been really into reading this series, but I had not been able to find a copy because it's kind of an older series. So I picked that up at a used bookstore in Oregon a long time ago. And then I have A Song for the Wild Bill by Becky Chambers. And then this one, The Light Brigade by Cameron Hurley, which I've heard really good things about. It's supposed to be like an adult sci-fi that's like pretty epic sci-fi, I think. But it's interesting because it has a lot of like swearing and stuff in it, which I think is going to be kind of fun. Like maybe this will be kind of like Murderbot vibes. And then I have this Mortal Coil, which is another, I think it's adult sci-fi. And then I have the Aurora series, so I have Aurora Rising, Aurora Burning, and then I just got Aurora's End recently at another used bookstore, and I was so excited to find this because this third one is actually pretty expensive, and I didn't want to pay an arm and a leg for it, but I wanted to read it, you know what I'm saying? And then we have Last of Her Name, which is another YA sci-fi, and this one is also about a princess. I think she is like the last one in her family, like her family gets killed, and she's the last one standing, which sounds kind of cool. And then I have Illuminae and Gemina and Lifelike by Jared Kirsoff. And then Skyward by Brandon Sanderson, the first one. And then over here is the historical fiction area. So I have this one, which isn't really historical fiction, but I didn't really know where to put it. It's called Olivia Twist by Rory Langdon. And this one is one that I have picked up and started a million times and just never gotten around to reading the very end of it. But it's set in historical London, and it's a retelling of Oliver Twist, and it's really, really good. And there's kind of a mystery element to it, and the romance is between like two different thieves, and it's just really fun. But it has this historical setting without being like a full-on like hardcore murder mystery thriller. So I just kind of put it down here because I don't really know where it fits, to be frank with you. And then this is A Tale for the Time Being, which is a historical fiction that's adult. I didn't realize that this author is also the one who wrote a new book recently. That's interesting. And then I have The Nightingale by Kristen Hanna, which I still need to read. My dad gave me this copy. And I have The Huntress and The Rose Code by Kate Quinn, which are also ones that are my dad's that he gave me to read. And then this is a random book that my boss gave me. So those are all the books that I have out here. And then I wanted to show you guys my TBR cart that you can see over there, and kind of what is going on with that as well. Okay, so I also wanted to show you guys my TBR cart because I'm kind of using it differently than I was before. So the top shelf is all books that I'm either reading for different reading vlogs, or ones that I think I'm going to use in upcoming videos, or they're just like arcs that I recently picked up from work. So I wanted to show you what's going on over here because I got a lot of cool stuff over here. So I have A Game of Fate by Scarlett St. Clair, which is for a video. I'm just going to take these off and throw them. That's cool, right? And then I have this one, which I'm so excited for. It's a historical romance called A Rogue by Any Other Name. And then we've also got Lore Olympus Volume 2 and Monsters Born and Made. And then Rabbit Heart, which is a poetry collection. And I have Other Words for Home checked out from the library. Oh yeah, this is also where I keep my library books so they don't get mixed in with everything else in the bookcase. And then I have The Darkness Outside Us, Karen Memory, Wild is the Witch, which is an arc that I got after its release date, The Restless Dark by Erica Waters, which I'm thinking about reading for like a taste test author specific reading vlog, maybe in like October, closer to its release date. And Wild Seed Witch, which is a witchy middle grade novel, which sounds really cool. And the main character in here also has a YouTube channel, which I think is so cute. So that's one that I want to get to soon. And I have The Hollow Places by T. Kingfisher, because I'm low-key on like a T. Kingfisher kick right now. And then I also have a couple other arcs. The Undead Truth of Us, which is a zombie novel, and How Far the Light Reaches. This is a arc of a collection of essays. And I picked this up from work the other day because it sounded really interesting. And it starts off with the main character like at Petco in the fish aisle, and she's trying to protest the feeder fish, which are like the ones they feed to the other fish because they're always really unhealthy and dying, and it's kind of sad and nasty in that tank with the feeder fish. And so she's protesting them like killing these fish and the treatment of the fish, and she gets like kicked out of a Petco as a kid. And I just thought that was cool. And then One Last Stop by Casey McQuiston, and She Is a Haunting, which is another horror arc that I have. And then down here I have some really cool stickers. And then this is my monkey. His name is Bob. If you see him in videos, that's what's happening. He's magnetic. And then I have these two bottom shelves, and these are kind of books that I have recently bought, and I'm trying to kind of like keep on my radar and not forget that I have them and just throw them on the big shelf with all the other books. So I have Ordinary Monsters, All My Rage by Sabaa Tahir. This one, World of Wonders, is one that was a damage at work, and this is like a book about nature and animals, but it's also like a nonfiction memoir, which is cool. I have The Daughter of Dr. Moreau by Sylvia Moreno Garcia, which I'm really excited to read, and Just Like Home by Sarah Gailey, and I have Baby Teeth. Okay, I need to take this out and show you. One thing is, it's so hard to get these books out of the cart normally, but this one, Baby Teeth, is a YA book about vampires, and they're lesbian vampires, and it's written in verse, which looks so fun. I'm just going to show you because I'm excited. Anyway, so I bought this recently, and it just looks so cool, and I'm so excited about it. And it's kind of cool because the front is teal but the back is like gray. The blood feeds the hunger that threatens everything. And it has this like dripping rose. Isn't that just so stunning? Oh my gosh, obsessed. And then, okay, here you can also see Just Like Home that has this like bleeding house on it, which is really creepy and cool. And then this is a new book by Fernanda Melchor, who also wrote Hurricane Season, which was one of my favorite books of last summer. So I didn't realize that she had a new book out called Paradise, I think. Anyways, it is another short book, and I think this is going to be really weird and bizarre, and I'm so excited. And then I have Shuit, which is the weird, creepy owl book that you guys have heard me talk about that I still need to read. And then this one, Fight Night, is one that I also picked up from work that was a used copy somebody brought in, and I'm really excited about this because I've been wanting to read from this author for a while. And then this one is called See You Yesterday, and this is another arc that I picked up from work. And it looks really cool. It's about college kids, and then it's also about time travel, and it sounds really fun. And I also grabbed another graphic novel by Scotty Young the other day, and it's the first book in a new series. It's called Strange Academy, and it's basically like a Marvel comic about these kids who are all magical and they have powers, and they go to this academy that's run by Dr. Strange. And it's also written by Scotty Young, who is my big time fave, and it looks really fun. Let me see, it has all this really cool art in it. Anyways, these kids and their powers look so fun. Oh my gosh, what a shot. And then the back is like showing them in the classroom like low-key strangling each other with magic by accident. Funny how that happens. Anyways, and then I also grabbed a copy of Honey and Spice the other day at Target, and I started reading this the other day, and it's really good so far, and I'm super interested to see where it goes. And then down here, oh, I have this to show you. I got a new book sleeve the other day, and it's super cool and witchy. It's by Book Nook Sleeves. I'll try to link it in the description below if I can find it, if it's still for sale. But my aunt got me this for graduation, and I just think it's so stunning. This is a print that they've had before, and it went out of stock really fast, and then it came back in right around when I graduated from college, and my aunt got it for me, and I'm so excited because it's so stunning. And then down here I also have a couple other books. This is one I was going to give to my dad and forgot to give it to him last time I saw him. It's a historical fiction. I think it's World War II. And then I have this one, which is The Witch King, which I am so excited to own a copy of this. This is a queer YA fantasy about fae, and the main character is trans, and so is the author, I believe, which is really cool. And then I have an arc of Notes on an Execution, which everybody's been saying is so good, and I'm so excited to read this. So anyways, those are the books that I kind of have like hanging out over here on the old TBR cart. And then finally I wanted to show you guys some of the books that are like on my nightstand that I'm currently reading. So let's flip around and I'll show you. Okay, so over here is my little like nightstand book collection. So I always have like a big stack of books on my nightstand that I'm currently reading. So last night I was listening to the audiobook of Young Gods by Katie Robert, and then I also have some library books. So I have House Cat Trouble, which is a middle grade graphic novel that's really cute. It's about this cat who has his house invaded by monsters, and he's trying to like get rid of them, and he kind of has to team up with these like stray street cats to try and get the monsters out of his house. And the art style is just so cool, and I'm kind of obsessed with it. Look how funny that cat looks. I love it. We love to see it. And then I also have Nettle and Bone by T. Kingfisher that I found at the library the other day, and I'm so excited to read this. I told you I was on a T. Kingfisher kick. I wasn't kidding. But I wanted to listen to the audiobook and then follow along in the physical book of this, and I am so excited. That's probably going to happen this weekend. And then finally I have My Best Friend's Exorcism by Grady Hendrix, and this is another library book that I grabbed the other day because everybody was screaming about this during Summerween, and I was having mad FOMO because I've heard about this book for years and I haven't read it, and it just looks so good, and I'm so excited. And then on my nightstand I always keep some tabs for like tabbing the books while I'm reading, and Bluetooth headphones for listening to audiobooks. So anyways, I kind of have my little book set up over here, just the optimal reading corner. And then usually I sit here on my bed and like read with my pillows, and then that's Jeffrey. He's an avocado. He's vibing. But anyways, those are all the books I wanted to show you. So those are all the spots in my house right now where I have books. My bookshelf, my Tbr cart, my nightstand, they're everywhere, but I wanted to show you guys what I have going on because I haven't showed you guys my shelves in like 6 months and a lot has changed. I've hauled a lot of books, I've unhauled a lot of books, there's just a lot of things happening. So thank you so much for watching. If you would like to subscribe, that would be awesome. Also, don't forget to follow me on other social media. I always have my Twitter, Instagram, Goodreads, all that linked down in the description below. I will also try to leave that book sleeve that I showed earlier linked down below in case you're interested in that. So thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in another video very soon. Bye!